Thank you, Rakesh Kumar ji, chairman of this session, and Shankar Agarwal ji, co-chairman, and the learned speaker here. So since morning we are discussing the various aspects of the how to reduce the greenhouse gas emission through the decarbonization route, and the responsibility and task is given by Dr. Sharma to me is to cover the two sectors, energy sector as well as the steel sector. And my other colleagues from refinery and petrochemical, they will deal those sectors. So to start with, as per the MOEF and Government of India's reports, the top 15 emission categories in terms of CO2 equivalent, if you see, then the electricity production, that is with respect to CO2, the thermal power plants are contributing 40% of the greenhouse gas emission. Then the road transport is about 9%. Then fermentation is about 8%. Non-specific industry is about 6%. R and steel is 5%. And the residential areas, residential building is 4%. Cement production is 4%. So this is the this MOEF based upon the inventory of the greenhouse gas emission which they have prepared, and they submitted this report to the United Nations Framework Convention of Climate Change. So you can see that the electricity production and the steel sector and the transport sector are contributing huge with respect to greenhouse gas emissions. So we have to focus on these two sectors mainly. Now the climate change strategies in morning, Honorable Minister is also explained, and then learned speaker Dr. Balyan, Dr. Alok Sharma, they have also emphasized, Rakesh Kumar in the previous session, they have already explained what are the climate action strategies. But these are the four important strategies we have to follow. One is that the energy efficiency, and we have a very big program of the Bureau of Energy Efficiency on conservation and energy efficiency increase with respect to many sectors, especially the thermal power plant, cement plant, and the automobile sector. And there are a lot of savings with respect to greenhouse gas emission has already taken place. Then carbon sequestration is another area which I think we have to do a lot, but already through the green belt development in more and more area, we are doing reasonably good. Then the renewable energy, we have done a lot, and in morning you have heard that already we have covered what are the target for 2030. It is the 45 gigawatt, and annually we are going to have the 500 gigawatt of the renewable energy, what was given by the Honorable Prime Minister to task to the Ministry of Energy and Niti Aayog. Then no carbon fuels is also very, very important, and Government of India is working very, very seriously on the clean fuel. Either on the pollution control angle or also the greenhouse gas emission angle, the low carbon fuels are a paramount importance. And these four areas we are considering for our carbon reduction strategies. Change in energy demand by fuel in selected sector, if you see that the industry sector are contributing a lot of greenhouse gas emission reduction. And here, so far, the coal is the basic primary energy. And you can see that the industry sector, coal consumption, coal uses, then oil, and then slowly we are going for the bioenergy and other fuel. Similarly, transport is mainly oil. So more than 90% still we are having the petrol and diesel for our transport sector things. And then similarly for the building sector, oil and gas are the two things. And the agriculture also again the lot of oil is using the pump set, etc. That is contributing to the greenhouse gas emission. If you see the side picture, that electricity generation is contribute using the coal, still it is about 64%. We have to certainly reduce it, and other oil things are about 23%. Other industries are contributing this thing. CO2 emission from Indian energy sector, if you see, this is very important slide. 2.62 billion tons per year is generated, and power sector is contributing maximum. followed by industry, transport, building, and other energy sources. You can see the industry sector, if you see, the iron and steel, cement figures are given here. And the transport sector, trucks, two and three-wheelers and cars, and building sector, the residential sectors are given. These are the estimates done again by MOEF in their studies. One of the important things is the hydrogen to carbon ratio. Why we are talking the non-carbon fuel? So if the hydrogen to carbon ratio is more, then if the hydrogen carbon ratio is low, then your CO2 emission is also decreasing. For example, coal, it is 0.75 to 1.5, and it is the greenhouse gas emission with respect to this fuel is maximum. And in case of hydrogen, where there is no carbon, so your emission is, greenhouse gas emission with respect to CO2 is bare minimum or nil, you can see. Natural gas, it is 4, hydrogen to carbon ratio. Similarly, for diesel and gasoline, the picture is given. So it will give a very comprehensive things that if you go for the clean fuel, and ultimate fuel for the carbon mitigation, greenhouse gas emission reduction will be the hydrogen in future. And in the morning session, we have a long discussion, presentation by Alok Sharma ji on the various type of hydrogen which is being produced in the country. CO2 emission from various electrical power sources. You can see that it is this again the Government of India's estimate, and the renewable energy. What are the contribution with respect to CO2 emissions are given here. You can see that the various fuels, if you take, what are the carbon dioxide emissions are given here. One of the important thing is that if we are generating a lot of solar power, we are giving a lot of importance. And the target is that a huge solar power based power generation will be there. But we have to, as a regulatory body, as a pollution control board and the environment ministry, we have to consider what are the waste generated after, say, 25 to 30 years, what will happen to that? This is a study done by some of the international organizations. They have found that the PV cell waste generation will, in India itself, it will be 7.5 million. So we have to dispose it. And all these PV cells contain heavy metals like your various type of heavy metals, toxic metals are present. So we have to recycle and reuse. Otherwise, the disposal will be very big thing. So because the CPCB, in charge of the waste management division is sitting here, I think this is a very important task for him to develop the SOP for this solar power and wind power waste PV cells SOP for the environmentally sound technology for disposal it or recycling, recover it. Similarly, for the electric vehicles, we are going to use the lithium ion, and we do not have the lithium ion. And the lithium ion battery's life is only 5 years. 5 to 6 years. So there will be huge quantity of the lithium ion will be available after, say, 6-7 years or so. And we do not have any policy presently about the lithium ion recovery. Like lead, we have the policy, and there are 365 lead recycling industries are working here in India. But we are not working on that lithium ion recovery. Because the lithium ion is not available in our country, we are importing it. And all over the world, most of the mines are now controlled by China. So in future, we are going to have a very big issue about the availability of lithium ion at a reasonable price, because China will certainly going to increase the price. So we have to, it is very good that we are promoting electric vehicles, but we have to also consider how we are going to recycle this lithium ion. Otherwise, we have to pay a very heavy price on the lithium ion battery. And you can see that the cost of the electric vehicles, the 90% of the cost of the electric vehicles is the battery only. So other things are very less. So we have to consider this thing. And again, CPCB and MOEF have to play a very important role about the recycling and reuse and proper disposal, scientific disposal of this waste which is going to be generated. Net zero transition, if you see, the 3 sectors I have taken: thermal power, industry, and transport. Thermal power, the strategy of India will be the phase out of the old power plant. Now we are talking about the phase down of the old power plant, and it is happening now. High thermal efficiency, we are talking about the supercritical and ultra supercritical technologies now. Gas-based power generation, hydrogen and ethanol-based power generation, including DG sets, and increase solar and wind power. So these are the 5 important sections which we are working for the green net zero transition in the thermal power sector. Industry, also the increased energy efficiency. We are talking a lot on the all the typical industry like steel, cement, refinery, petrochemical, etc., how to improve the energy efficiency. A lot of work is going on. I will give some case study, which gas for the thermal energy needs, technological changes in steel, cement, and other high CO2 generators, and in-house solar energy used for heating. Similarly, for the transport sector, the old vehicle scrapping, and the Honorable Minister in the morning has given the emphasis of the what is the importance of the vehicle scrapping, which is old vehicle scrapping, what are the policy and how best it will be useful for the greenhouse gas emission reduction. Higher fuel efficiency vehicle, already BEE has come out with the efficiency standard. Then energy efficient fuels. As I mentioned that low carbon and high hydrogen fuels are being promoted. Ethanol and hydrogen as fuels, synthetic fuel based upon CCSP technologies, and renewable-based electric vehicles. So I will not take the current one, this transport sector, only the other thing. So now coming to the clean coal power generation using clean coal, there is a CEA has constituted a committee on this, and the findings of I was also associated with that committee. So the findings of that I will try to give you. In GHG emission strategies for the Indian energy sector, again, it is improve the thermal power efficiency, use higher thermal efficiency power generation system, reduce transmission losses, install power plants near load centers, stop using unabated coal for power generation, use of natural gas, use of hydrogen, biomethanation technologies, promotion of biomethanation technologies, and renewable power use. So these are some of the things, and including this thing, we are also promoting in a big way the co-processing of the waste in cement plants. That will give the huge greenhouse gas emission reduction benefit, especially the CO2, where any type of waste having good calorific value can go to the cement plant for co-processing. And CPCB has already formulated policy of that. SOP have been issued. And Ministry of Environment, while issuing the Hazardous Waste Management Rule 2016, given the importance of the co-processing, it is given above the ranking in the waste disposal, recycle, reuse, and then the co-processing, and then whatever waste is left can go to the landfill site. So there is a big things are happening in the sector of the co-processing of waste in cement plants, which is giving a very win-win solution for both the industry as well as the regulatory board for the CO2 emission reduction. Now, example for pathways for cleaner coal-fired power generation, if you can see, presently what we are doing, we are the coal, we are taking the boiler and then generating the steam and then electricity generation. We are going to use raising the efficiency using the good supercritical technology or ultra super technology. Then the flue gas treatment for SO2, PM and NOx control. And certainly SO2 control has some policy intervention is required because in our country, although we have put a condition that all the sulfur dioxide to be controlled by putting the FGD, but and we are spending few lakhs crore on that. But in fact, it is may not be very much necessary in a country like India, where the sulfur in our coal is very low, and the SO2 problem in our ambient air is not very significant. So, but although the Ministry of Environment has issued the notification, but presently government is reviewing it and giving the time extension up to 2024 for installation of FGD, because FGD is very expensive thing. Again, the two things in the case of FGD I want to tell you, that FGD require additional power, additional water. And per megawatt about huge quantity of water, extra water is required. And one side the notification said that you have to meet the 3.5 meter cube per megawatt per hour water discharge, and you have to move slowly to the zero liquid discharge. Other side, if you put the FGD and the additional water is required, so it will be very, very difficult for the thermal power station to meet both the condition of the FGD as well as the this water thing. So I think this point should be reviewed by CPCB and MOEF about the requirement of FGD beyond 2024. But with these two, the raising the efficiency and reducing non-CHG emission, which is known as a high efficiency and low emission thing, is very good only for the pollution control angle. Then we have to go for the CCS, for reducing the CO2 emission, and certainly the raising the efficiency will reduce the greenhouse gas emission. So there was some report from the CEA which give what are the CO2 intensity factor, the efficiency for the subcritical, supercritical, and ultra supercritical. Our 71% of the coal-based power station in our country are on subcritical, where the high carbon dioxide is released beside the particulate matter, SO2 and NOx. But the supercritical, only 21% of the plant is there. So what the government of India has taken a decision that slowly we should phase out and phase down the old power plant, which are based upon subcritical things, pulverized coal-based, and move to the new power plant, which will having the supercritical. So our ultimately think that 71% should be around 10-15%, and the 21% supercritical become about 70 or to 80%. And slowly, the big power plant from NTPC and other big one, more than 660 megawatt power plant, will go to ultra supercritical. That will overall reduce the greenhouse gas emission, CO2 emission, and certainly there will be a lot of improvement is there. Then we need policies for decarbonization coal-based power plant. What is need to be done? The 7 steps are there. Fleet technology and efficiency we have to improve. Plan for the old capacity. We have to phase down as per the policy of the Government of India. Renovation and modernization plan for improvement of efficiency. Biomass co-firing. That is very, very important, and very good scope is there. Now the agriculture residue and biomass, which is plenty available, now government has allowed this biomass can be co-fired with the coal in the power plant. And one of the very good example of the NTPC Dadri, that they are already allowed 10%, and lot of stubble from the Punjab and Haryana are going in the power plant for co-firing with the coal. Coal beneficiation is another good one for CO2 reduction. Carbon capture and storage is difficult, very expensive, but ultimately we have to go, and the other incentive mechanism to improve efficiency. Now here the very important thing that we have to give some incentive to the power station to improve the efficiency, because as in the morning you know that during the discussion it came that the heavy expenditure is required for going for the higher energy efficiency by putting the supercritical technology and other things. If you can see the supercritical technology, again the 1 point, if you improve the efficiency by say 4%, 1%, then about 2 to 3% of the CO2 reduction will be there. So we are not targeting that our old power plant should at least improve 4% efficiency by switching over from to supercritical technology. So that will give an idea of the 4% decrease in the CO2 reduction, and that money, that whole money, I think should come from the climate fund, which is committed by the developed countries to the developing countries. So the fund should come from there. New fleet must be ultra or more. It was in this decade, India will increase coal capacity from 205 gigawatt to 266 gigawatt. We are not phasing out, totally eliminating the coal. In the next 20, 30 years, I think we have to live with the coal in the coal-based power station. And we are, as such, putting the new power station also with the supercritical technology or ultra-critical technology with very good efficiency and with all requisite pollution control system. So we have to see that it par with our GDP growth. We have to increase the power requirement, and that will come from the base load we have to maintain, and for that it will come from the coal-based power station. India will be building more, that I explained to you. Opportunities to ensure that the TPP are ultra-critical or advanced ultra-supercritical. The cost increase is marginal, but the advantage is that they will be much more resource efficient and emission efficient. Plant for old capacity. We have to see that there are a lot of 34.2 gigawatt power plant. As per the CEA estimate, it will be 25 years old, and we have to go for the 60% are highly inefficient. So we have to slowly phase down all these things, all these power plants. Retirement strategy is inadequate. We have continually missed our retirement targets. In 2081, the NEP included a new target for the closure of 48.3 gigawatt by 2027. It is already planned, but we don't know what are the new things. So plan for the old capacity, need deliberate plan for the old plants. It is difficult to retire plants. They have the coal linkage. They have the employee. We have to see the employee, how they will work, what are the employment thing. Have land, and also most importantly, environment clearance they have. So these 4 things they have. So it is very, means we have to give a lot of thinking about the phase down or phase out of this old power plant also, because the employment is the big issue in that. So plan must be refurbished, plan to the co-firing of biomass or to work on other fuels of power generation, gas and waste. This is also an area where the old plants land we can use for the setting of the biomass-based co-firing plants. That will be a solution for that. Renovation and modernization is also very important. Government of India policy on modernization need to be implemented.